If you're looking to pursue anything, the first thing is just try your absolute hardest. Like everything you have, aim it at that one thing if that's really what you want.
I'm Melanie Barr. Welcome back to the She Built It podcast, your go-to place to empower you to live the life and business that you crave. I'm here to talk about everything from having the courage to make life and career leaps to the details of how to lead effectively, create successful teams, implement strategies for growth, and infuse tech innovation. I'm here to celebrate your wins and navigate through your challenges. I live in the city now, but I grew up in a town of 1,000 people. I've navigated major life leaps, a senior level corporate career, worked in professional sports, and now as a successful entrepreneur who loves business, technology, family, and making meaningful connections with you and the She Built It community. I also love a good workout and dose of self-care. Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. So turn up the audio, open your favorite notes app, grab your favorite drink, and here we go. Welcome back to the She Built It podcast. Thank you for joining us, Alena. What initially attracted you to rugby, especially after playing volleyball and soccer in high school? And I also have to say, congratulations on your incredible win in Paris.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a dream the past couple months since Paris, and I'm just so grateful that I found rugby. Two of my cousins played rugby when we were growing up in high school, and one of them played at the University of Michigan, which is where I was going, and they were like, you should really try it out. And honestly, so much feedback from my coaches in soccer. Their feedback is like, you're just too aggressive. You got to tone it down. Please don't foul. Those kinds of things. I knew that I liked being competitive. That is useful on a rugby field. So I gave it a shot and I absolutely fell in love with it.
I love that you didn't stick with one thing and that you tried something new. And listening to you talk in other interviews, you mentioned how it brings a sense of community too. I have a daughter and she plays club soccer, but it's interesting to think about trying a different sport.
Yeah. What's nice about the college environment is that there's so many open doors and it's about trying new things. But there were two things that really made me fall in love with rugby. One of them was the contact element of it and being able to use my body. But the second one was the people. Once you show up to your first practice, and I hope that women and girls that are showing up to their first practices after this Olympics are experiencing the same environment that I did. But if people are so excited that you're there, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody that's interested in rugby, because there's so few of them. They're like, come here. We want you to learn everything. We want to teach you everything. We want you to love rugby as much as we do. We want to be your friend. Nothing else matters. You can be here for fun. You can be here because you want to be competitive, but we want you to be here and enjoy the sport with us. And it builds a really awesome group of friends.
I love that. And community is what it really is about. That group of friends and that team being able to have the chemistry and work well together.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about team sports. And that's such a special thing that you get to experience by doing all those things, hard things, fun things with all your friends.
Tell us about your debut on the World Rugby 7 Series in Glendale and scoring the game-changing try. What did that mean to you?
For the longest day, that was probably like the best day of my life. Thinking back, and now after the Olympics, I'm not sure it could still be the best day. I haven't done the tally on both of the days, but I had been playing rugby for a while. I had come into the full-time national team environment, and it was a pretty rocky start for me. I showed up, but I didn't have a contract and I wasn't getting paid. And so I always had one foot in the door, one foot out the door. I need to make sure I have a job because this dream could be over. And then eventually I did get cut for a brief period of time, but then we got a new coach and he's like, you can stay around for longer. He ended up being the coach that gave me my first cap. And I was so happy to be there because that's the goal in your head. I just want to get my first international cap. So I was just happy and although very nervous, felt like he had prepared me really well to be there. And honestly, it felt like it landed in my lap. I was with all my teammates. It was a big team play, but right in front of me, the seas just parted. And so I was like, am I supposed to run this? Anybody else want this? But I just took it and I ran it. And yeah, it's funny how those moments show up in your life.
I love that you had the confidence to take it. And you mentioned being cut. We all have those setbacks at times in life. And how great is it that your coach probably very thrilled that they said, come back and be with us, knowing all that you've achieved. But tell us about that setback and what advice do you have for others who might be going through a setback right now?
It's all part of the process, no matter who you are. And I'm talking about like our team. There's so many players on our team that have different kinds of setbacks. And no matter who you are, it's going to come. You're going to face rejection or failure. A lot of it is continuing to show up the same way you were before. You want to make adjustments, but if my process is to make sure I'm getting this many passes in, spend this much time kicking, making sure I'm doing this conditioning, no matter how I feel after that failure, to still be able to show up the next day and do the job. Because if I decide that I want to go for it again, then no matter how I feel, I still have to continue the process of building myself to become a better athlete and become a better teammate person.
How has being an Olympian shaped you both on and off the field?
That one's a hard question.
It has to be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it is. Part of me is like, it's the goal that I've been working for a very long time, but also does the Olympian title change me? I still very much feel like I was the same person I was before the Olympics. It was an amazing experience, and I love that we were able to share it with so many people, but it doesn't fundamentally change who any of us are or were before we played in the games. But the journey of getting there has taught me a lot about resilience and dedication, courage. And I know I can throw a lot of words out there, but I don't feel like you have to have confidence, but I at least know that I can do hard things. I've been able to show that to myself. And no matter if it's on the field or off the field, challenges are going to come, and I feel like I'll be able to handle them.
So often we can come up against something and think, oh, I'm just going to quit. And I love that you're sharing the message to just keep pushing forward, because look at all that you have achieved. It's amazing.
Yeah. And most of those days, especially very late in the fourth or however many years you've been doing it, you don't want to. And it's hard to get yourself to do it. But I think that's the key, is being able to consistently show up even when you don't want to.
You also have a passion for environmental sustainability. What role do you think athletes and sports organizations can play in helping our environment?
It's been really cool to see how athletes in general have brought a lot of topics to the public so people can discuss them and learn about them, a lot of social issues. And I guess what I'm hoping is that like one of the next big topics for athletes is environmental issues, where in the public eye, people are watching us and observing the things that we do. So talking about it so that people at least have discussions about it or can educate themselves on it, that's, I think, a big deal, especially in the US. But also being leaders. So sporting organizations doing more at their events. So when people come to their events, they can witness and see what it looks like to be more sustainable and how easy it could be to bring back into their own homes and their own lives. But then also asking more from their sponsors and partnerships, because it should go both ways. If I'm an athlete and I really care about the environment and I have a sponsor, I want to partner with somebody, I want to align with their values. So them being able to ask something from me, but me also ask them, could you be more sustainable? What ways could you guys be more sustainable to make this like a partnership that I feel good about? But like that done on a big scale, if you think about the Olympics or if you think about FIFA, the NBA, and them asking big corporate sponsors to be more sustainable, I think could make a really big impact.
I worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I was actually just at the game not long ago, looking at the stands. The quick thing that you go to is plastics and bottles, and how do we do that? When my daughter had looked at me and she said, wow, how fast does this get cleaned up when the game is over? And I at home have tried to stop buying plastic water bottles. I just stopped buying them, because you think about what it does to our oceans and our landfills and how it goes back into whatever we're eating or consuming.
It's amazing when you try to be more aware of it. When you're at the grocery store or at the shopping mall and you're walking around, you can see how many things are just used one time. They're so disposable, like the wrapping, the packaging of things. And I guess every time you visit the trash can and you put something in it, you should think, where did this come from? How did I use it? And is there a way that I can avoid the visits that I'm taking to the trash?
It's so true. I get groceries delivered every so often, but I have a stack of paper bags and I thought, I wonder if there's a place I can drop these off where they
Yeah.
can be reused. Because I really try, like when I'm doing my own grocery shopping, to use the sustainable bags and always have my bags with me. But sometimes if you have them delivered, they can stack up. But I thought, where can I take these instead of just throwing it into the recycling?
Yeah, that's amazing because recycling is really good for some things, but I also think in a lot of ways it's a cop out to reducing and reusing. It's definitely the last solution in the chain for me. Of course, like throwing something away is the last one, but in terms of the three R's, recycling is the last one.
I was also thinking about recently electronics. I've been cleaning out my office and then my kids have old iPads and where do you drop those off? So it's interesting having that conversation because we all have so many electronics now. Where is there a place where we can put them where it will be safer for us and the environment?
And it's really cool to see a lot more solutions coming along because, like you said, this is something that everybody is experiencing. And it's really hard for everybody to make so much effort for just like a small stack of electronics. But if it were easier for all of us to do, then it's a bigger impact on us.
Maybe that's a sports team. Bring your electronics and drop them
Yeah.
off on your way to the game. Because seriously, I have a stack of them and I thought, I don't want to just put these in the trash. That just doesn't feel right. It takes an extra thought process to think about what can I do with them? But we all have old earbuds or they don't work anymore.
I remember when I was helping my mom clean out some of her stuff, and she had a bunch of those TVs with that go all the way back with a big back on them. And I'm like, I have no idea what to do with these. And then I tried to research places, and they're like, we don't even take those anymore. So, yeah, definitely had to work really hard just to figure out what to do with big electronics.
What advice would you give girls looking to pursue sports like rugby?
If you're looking to pursue anything, the first thing is just try your absolute hardest. Like everything you have, aim it at that one thing if that's really what you want. And for sports specifically, I try to really get people watching film as early as possible because you can practice a lot. You need other people to practice with you. You need a lot of energy and endurance to practice for a long time, but it takes a little less effort to watch film and be mentally engaged and visualizing how to do skills, how to read plays. So I think film is a really good tool. But the bigger message is do absolutely everything you can and put it towards that goal that you want. But then the second important thing for me is also be a really good teammate. I think that's so important that you're always going for your individual goal, but always be bringing up the people around you and creating really good bonds with the team that you're in because ultimately the success of that team is going to help you become a better player as well.
I love that you say watching film because that's not always easy to do. Sometimes you watch it and it's harder to watch.
Yeah, there is a little bit of an awkward period, but you also learn this happens all the time. I'm like, oh my God, that was a horrible practice. I don't even watch it back. And I watch it back and I was like, oh, that was not as bad as I thought it was. Look at all these other things happening. But then also sometimes I'm like, that was such a good play. I can't wait to clip it and put it in my memory bank so I can watch it on a bad day. And then I watch it, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. So it's always nice to get a second look at the things that happen and instead of ruminating on mistakes.
Yeah, we're always so critical of ourselves. And I love how you said putting those plays somewhere where you can watch them again to feel proud of yourself.
Yeah, that's a really big thing that actually I should put more credit to that brought me a long way in really tough times was like, oh, I did something. This is a folder just for me to watch whenever I need a little pickup. But there's also a lot of really funny clips in there too.
I love that. That's so fun. Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. What is one way that you make sure to find and live your joy? We've talked a lot about what you do and what you're passionate about, but what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question because when the days are really long and they're working us really hard, it's really easy to be tired and pessimistic. We work with our sports psychologist a fair amount, Joy is something that I want that keeps me going. How can I find that more in my day? A lot of times, honestly, it's really being able to connect with my teammates and connect with people that are in my environment and see them smile or talk about something that has nothing to do with rugby, just be laughing together. That joy and laughter comes from the people that I'm around, finding ways to build our relationships that don't have to do with our performance on the field.
Or technology. We're all so tech driven that just being with someone, and you're so lucky that you have your teammates too, because that's got to be such a good feeling to have that community with you.
Yeah, and you know that a lot of times they're feeling very similarly. To be able to bring two people out of like a darker place is better than just one.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Will you please tell us a little bit about Paris before we wrap up?
Oh, of course. It was amazing. I will say before we played, very stressful, a lot of pressure. The heat was on and people weren't sleeping well, weren't eating well. But we got to the village, beds were fine. I know people have complaints about the beds. I thought they were fine. The food was okay. The muffins were great. I'm just covering these basic questions I get. But honestly, the village was amazing just to see so many people that are so good at what they do all in one spot was unbelievable. And meeting a lot of people that I have met online before, but never met in person, that's really cool too. And Paris was just beautiful. They did such a good job. LA's got their work cut out for them because they had a lot of the events at big venues or monuments within the city. So Paris just felt like it was made to hold an Olympic event with the public transit. They were super sustainable with how they built the village and how they built the stadiums.
How was playing for you and winning?
Oh man, that was the biggest crowd we've ever seen. I think we had 66, 69,000, something like that. It was packed. It was weird because you like couldn't hear anything, but also at some point you couldn't even hear the crowd. Like it just felt quiet because it was so loud. But I loved the crowd. They had so much energy. And God, I love my teammates so much because I can't believe we pulled it off still. After we won, I'm pretty sure I just cried for 48 hours straight. I just couldn't stop.
Congratulations. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Please share with us how and where we can find you.
Mostly Instagram. My tag is at Miscellaneous. It's a play on the word miscellaneous. Or LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I think that's my favorite social media platform. And then you can find my team. We play, hopefully, if we keep the same deal with media, we play on Peacock. So you can find us either live streamed or watch the games after they've been recorded.
Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me at hello@shebuiltit.com on our She Built It website or at She Built It on social. Thank you to my editor, Rich Streffolino, who always makes us sound good. Until next time, let nothing stop you from experiencing the life and business that you crave.